Exam boards are always changing their wretched syllabuses. From 2020, CIE have a new 0990 specification, and this video is aimed at giving you plenty of insight and practice into the early 1A to 1E 1 to 3 mark questions from paper 1. Pupils, keen to develop the technique and practice needed to be able to achieve full marks in these questions in your real exam. Colleagues and teachers, fed up with producing your own endless batch of practice questions following the introduction of new specs? You're in the right place. This is Schofield on Shakespeare. The most useful way to use this video is to be poised with pen and paper, ready to attempt all the short questions on screen before self-marking using the mark schemes.
And here's 1A. I always think that the first short question in a GCSE reading exam is intended to be accessible to all, and so don't be surprised if it's very easy. Looking at the 0990 specimen paper, it looks like this is intended to be a very simple copy out the facts exercise. That said, it is worth knowing that you need to give 2 examples in order to get the mark. Throughout this video, I will ask you to press pause to read the text and answer the question. On each occasion, the video will show you the answer and mark scheme 5 seconds later. So let's get started. Read, think, grab your pen and press pause now. Very straightforward. 1 mark for both Asian hornet and giant hogweed. I would imagine that you would need both adjectives, i.e. Asian and giant, to get the mark. In a moment, I'm going to give you another 1A to try. When it appears on screen, press pause to read the next extract and write down your answer. Straightforward again. 1 mark for both antibiotics and salt baths. In terms of the details, you probably don't need the adjective daily. The question is about the treatment, not perhaps about the regularity of the treatment. Let's move on to question 1B. This question asks you to precisely explain slightly more complicated words from the passage. How can you prepare for this? Well, and I lose track of the amount of time I say this during my own lessons, you can get into the habit of using a dictionary far more than you are doing at present. I am, obviously, an English graduate and teacher with a reasonably broad vocabulary and understanding of language, yet I probably look up words in a dictionary 25 times per week, and this doesn't include my work preparing this video. So many times I look up a word and am slightly surprised by a shade of meaning or an aspect of the word which I hadn't fully appreciated. If you know your vocabulary is not as broad as it should be, you can also get into the habit of writing out the definitions of words you come across in your own private reading. Write out 5 words a week, and within a month you have 20. Within 2 months, you get the idea. Anyway, time for you to have a go at the question on screen. How precisely and concisely can you explain what is meant by permanently off limits and indigenous custodians? Press pause now. I have used the exact wording from the sample mark scheme. You need to show an understanding of all key words from the phrase, not just explain one of them in detail in order to get the 2 marks. Here I suggest that permanently can be explained as forever or lastingly, or any other appropriate synonym. Whilst for off limits, you need to make it clear that this means visitors are not allowed to enter. Mark your piece now, press pause. Here's the marking guidance for the phrase indigenous custodians. For indigenous, you need to show an understanding that the word relates to those who are native to the country. For custodians, these are people acting as guardians or caretakers perhaps, committed to protecting the site. Mark your piece now, making a judgment call about your number of marks. Press pause. Here's a different question 1b for you to practice. Press pause now. Let's take legal battle. Well, legal clearly means relating to the law. A battle could perhaps be paraphrased simply as a fight, or perhaps in this context, a dispute that has gone on for some time with another party. Mark your piece, making sure that you're not overly generous. The examiner won't be. Press pause. What does the mark scheme say about alleged refusal? Well, alleged means claimed but not yet proven. I don't think claimed on its own is enough. A full explanation of the word must include that such a claim has not yet been confirmed as true or false. For the second mark, you need to have explained that refusal means a rejection or failure to do something. In this case, respect their multi-million-pound deal with New Balance. So mark your piece now and press pause. Here's a final 1b for you to have a go at. Read the extract, pick up your pen, pause time. First up, unique hub. Unique means more than special. It means one of a kind or inimitable. That word might be useful for some of your newly created vocabulary lists. How about hub? I define hub as an important or key centre for a particular activity. In this case, the conservation work done by experts. So mark your piece, 0, 1 or 2 marks. Press pause. How about conservation specialists? Well, conservation is clearly for those involved in the protection of the natural world, so plants, animals, natural areas. A specialist is someone with very specific skills or an expert. Mark yourself now. Press pause. Time to move on to 1c. 2 bullet points equals 2 separate points and marks. Read the extract on screen, answer the question, press pause. For the first mark, I think it's important to show an understanding of the present participle soaring, i.e. to identify the fact that the chopping down of so many trees within large areas is increasing rapidly. Hence, I've underlined the adverb rapidly within the mark scheme. To get 2 marks here, you only need 2 points from 3 possibilities. However, it is probably worth pointing out that the mark scheme had only 2 possibilities for 2 marks. But mark your piece now out of 2, make your judgment, it's pause time. Here's another 1c question, with this time the extract talking about that wretched country Qatar. Read the extract, grab your pen and press pause. Once again, the extract I have chosen has actually given 3 reasons rather than 2, but you may not be so lucky in the exam. Note that the reading assessment objectives here require you to demonstrate not just understanding of explicit meanings, the easy ones, but implicit meanings or attitudes. You therefore need to read between the lines to identify the cynicism suggested within the use of inverted commas around natural causes, which of course implies that the poor workers' deaths may have been something more sinister. Have a look at your response and mark it now. It's pause time. Here's another Practice 1C, lucky viewers and subscribers. Read the extract and grab your pen ready to give your 2 reasons. Press pause now. In order to show an understanding of a passage, I think it's important to use your own words as much as possible. Otherwise, you are simply copying. Thus, you can tell from the red underlinings that I have shown an understanding of identify and assess potential threats by writing in the mark scheme that there may be an earlier, quicker understanding of which pupils could be more inclined to commit violent or dangerous acts. Aim to do the same within your own answers, whilst always remembering the need to work as quickly as possible through these short answer questions. So mark your own response now and press pause. These short answer questions keep on coming. The sample exam question for 1D begins with identify 2 main. I've therefore done the same. Get ready to read the extract and write your response. Pause now, please. As previously stated within one of the earlier 1C questions, the sample mark scheme gave only 2 possible answers rather than 3. But having taught CIE IGCSE English language exams for nearly a decade, it doesn't strike me as impossible that they might do something similar. When marking this, check that you haven't just copied phrases but used your own words. Mark your work now and click on pause. Here's another question for you to try. They just keep on coming. Read the extracts and it's pause time. You should be getting the idea by now about these questions. Use the mark scheme to mark your response now and press pause. We're now moving on to a 3-mark question. The general principle for 3-mark questions in CIE IGCSE English language exams is very simple. 3 marks means 3 clear, different points. Have a go at this one, pressing pause now. Within the sample mark scheme for this question, there were 4 possible answers, with achieving 3 of them getting you 3 marks. I have followed suit. Be careful that you don't repeat the same or very similar points just because they may appear in a different part of the paragraph or extract. For example, the point about cold weather being a challenge with a Christmas election is effectively repeated in the final paragraph, albeit with a shift to a specific focus on older people. You need to have 3 clearly distinct points to get the 3 marks. So have a go at marking your work and press pause. Take 2. Read the article and answer the 3-mark question 1D2. Press pause now. As stated previously, I think it's important to ensure that you make 3 separate points. Note that within this article there is some repetition when the author talks about toddlers glued to their TVs and computer games having lower scores in interpersonal skills, paragraph 2, and some degree of deficient or delayed development in communication. He is saying something pretty similar. Look at your response and mark your work now. Pause time. In the sample piece, question 1e gave the other side to an argument and emphasised the importance of candidates using their own words. Just 3 lines are given within the candidate response booklet, so you need to make 3 points concisely. Have a go now and press pause. Looking at the mark scheme, I'm struck by the use of the adverb predominantly, which pleasingly implies that if you really can't think of a synonym for a word in the text that you need to use in your response, then it doesn't matter. Just use the original word from the text. However, it's risky to rely on this, and the general principle must be to religiously use your own words. Here's my mark scheme for this question. Press pause now to mark your work. and another 1e, which gives the other side of an argument. Another opportunity for you to fine-tune your short answers technique for the early questions in Paper 1. Press pause now. And here's the mark scheme. For the final time, mark your work, making sure that you don't give yourself the benefit of the doubt. If your answer isn't clear enough, do not give yourself the mark. Press pause now.
How did you get on? Where did you lose the marks? And more crucially, why? Were you slightly too wishy-washy at times? Did you end up listing too similar bullet points? Did you sometimes not read the passage quite carefully enough? The more reflective you can be now, the more helpful this will be in propelling you towards that fated grade 9 in your actual exam. Also, remember the importance of working quickly through these questions. 1A to 1E only amount to 15 marks within an 80-mark exam. A further 15 marks can be accrued in 1F, 2A, B and C can potentially gain you 10, whilst in 2D there's 15 available, and meanwhile question 3 has a whopping 25. The message is clear. There really is no time to lose within these short answer questions, and hopefully this video has built up your understanding of what is required, and through the sheer number of repeated tasks increased your working speed. So this has been a Schofield on Shakespeare production, exploring question 1A to E within the 0990 GCSE English Language Paper 1 CIE exam. Many thanks for watching.